Hello and welcome to this Facebook Live on the Banega Swasth India. We have with us Dr. Rahul Pandit. He's Director ICU, Fortis Hospital, Mumbai. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandit, for joining us today and giving us your time.
Thank you, Ambika. Thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
Dr. Pandit, the first thing before we start taking viewer questions, what I would like to ask you here is, if you can just explain us what really breakthrough infections are, because there's so much in mind that do we need to vaccinate it? People who are vaccinated are getting COVID-19. So just explain us what breakthrough infections really are.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very important and a very good question to start off with. When we look at the word breakthrough, it means that there was something stopping the infection from happening. And that stopping is the antibodies which are there in the patient. Now, where does these antibodies come from? We know for sure that when we vaccinate a person and we fully vaccinate a person, according to the schedule of whatever vaccine they have taken. I'm saying this because now we've got schedules of 1 dose vaccine, we've got schedules of 2 doses, and now we've got a Zydus COVID coming in with 3 doses as well. So once you've completed your schedule for the vaccination and 15 days have gone beyond that, then you have essentially got a complete immune status for that person. And if a person after that has an infection, that's what's called as a breakthrough infection. So that's what a breakthrough infection is.
So you've explained that really well. So again, why is vaccination important? How much does it really protect us?
Excellent question again. I think let's understand the purpose of vaccination. So the purpose of vaccination is to prevent deaths. That's the first purpose of vaccination. You look at any vaccination program in the world, which was started right from the beginning of the 19th century. The first purpose was, can we prevent death? The second purpose of that vaccine is to actually try and see if we can decrease the infections. And then the third and the important one comes that when you've reached to a critical point of actually almost everyone being vaccinated, that's when we talk about eradication from the disease. So smallpox, for example, polio, for example, after so many years of vaccination, we had eradication from the disease. So the COVID-19 vaccines right now, whichever are approved, there are 6 of them approved now in India, whichever are approved have got a very, very good protection from the death, very, very good protection from severe infection, and a reasonable protection from moderate infection. That does mean that you would have a mild infection at times, but majority of the people may still not have a mild infection. They would be having a good protection against the disease as well. But it can't be said for all the people.
So it's better to, obviously it's definitely safer. It reduces the effect a lot. Yeah.
100% safer. It helps you from preventing death, and it helps you in basically getting into intensive care unit or on oxygen bed.
Okay, great. So in fact, we've started getting questions. The first question, which I just asked you, is actually why are COVID vaccinated people catching COVID at a surprisingly high rate?
Okay, so I think that needs to be a little bit clarified that fortunately, the COVID vaccinated people are not catching infection at a surprisingly high rate. If you look at the total number of people who are vaccinated, vis-a-vis the people who have got the infection in the vaccinated group, you will see that that percentage is still much, much smaller to the group which was unvaccinated and who got an infection. So vaccinated group are definitely catching infection, but not at an alarmingly high rate that we should be worried about. But the good thing is that when you compare these two groups, you see that the group which was vaccinated is not requiring hospital on majority of these cases. They are at home. And the live example of this is United Kingdom. You see there are almost 25 to 40,000 cases coming positive in UK every single day, but not once have we heard of their hospital systems getting stretched. So most of the people are being cared for at home like an influenza or a flu-like illness. Whereas US, some of the states have really been stretched where the vaccination population was very small. The states which had a good vaccinated population, I think they are still comfortable.
Okay. So, vaccination is really important. And I think there are a lot of, awareness needs to be there that in some way, you can get infected, but it is protecting you in a lot of ways. The other question, Harveen Kaur is a little off, when we talk on vaccines, we'll come back to that. Harveen Kaur is asking, does COVID affect women's menstrual cycle and how does one correct that?
Well, I think it's a very important question again to understand that COVID-19 is one virus which has known to now affect every system in the body. And one of the system is the hormonal regulation of the body. And more specifically for women of childbearing age, menstrual cycle becomes a very important part of their day-to-day functioning, because any change in the menstrual cycle means that their hormonal balance has gone down. So COVID does affect it. And what I have realized is that most of these irregularities in the menstrual cycle actually settle down with time. I have seen patients take up to 3 to 6 months for it to settle down. If at all it is not getting controlled, then best to visit your gynecologist, who may then give you some tablets to regularize the menstrual cycle. And hopefully, after that, the menstrual cycle gets regularized once you've finished that 1 or 2 months course, which your gynecologist would prescribe you.
Okay, so I think that's a very important point, Harveen. I hope Dr. Pandit has answered that really well. Coming on to children, first there was this whole thing that the third wave is going to impact children. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, should children be sent to school if adults in the family are vaccinated?
Okay, so first question, would children be affected more in the third wave? I think there is increasing evidence now that children have actually got a lot of antibodies. Most of the percentage of studies report, not studies, but reports being coming in newspapers and smaller studies, between 50 to 80% of children having antibodies present. So that's a little reassurance that maybe even if they get a disease, it's not going to be a severe disease. We all know that children below 12 years of age or 10 years of age, because of the thymus gland, have got some amount of natural protection anyways. Okay. So I think third wave, I think the absolute number of children may be perhaps higher than the second wave, but we are not looking at that kind of a scenario where the hospitals are going to be full and stretched with pediatric population. The second question, should children go to school? I think it's a very important part of their mental and physical development, not only just education, but the overall personality grooming, and everything is dependent on when they sort of step out of the confines of their house. So it's important for them to go to school. But it's not just the parents who should be vaccinated. In fact, it's the teachers, the other staff which is going to be in the school. They all have to be vaccinated. The school environment has to follow some protocols. We at Maharashtra, the Maharashtra government pediatric task force has given excellent guidelines to make school environment safe. And they have given guidelines on how to actually have vaccination for the school and the ancillary staff which supports them in the school. So with that kind of a protection, I think it may require a bit of planning, but most schools should be reopened once that kind of a pediatric task force guidelines are implemented into the school. I think that's very important to do.
I think some great pointers which you've spelled out here, that, even for teachers, everybody else at the staff, the school needs to follow protocol, of course. Just asking, since we are talking about the third wave, what are your thoughts on the third wave? Is it coming, not coming? How severe will it be? As a nation, where are we on that, Dr. Pandit?
Again, very good question. It's like a crystal ball question, but I will try to answer it as scientifically as I can. So if you look at the wave one, starting from last February or March 2020 to now, what we have seen as a pattern, and the pattern has been a bit of a similar pattern, but at different months and different stages in the country, because India is a big country. You can't say that the whole country came into a wave now and the whole country disappeared, right? Because Kerala is going through a wave right now when it actually did not go through when the rest of the country went through.
Yes.
So it's a 100-day cycle. You've got 100 days of cases going up and coming down. Then you've got 100-day of lull, and then it comes up and goes out again. Okay, so I think we are right now, majority of the country is in the lull, where the cases have come down. And we should try and push this 100-day gap to 200 days or 300 days if we can. Why am I saying this? And how will we do that? If we follow the COVID appropriate behavior, you will be able to push it forward. And that will give the entire country time to get vaccinated. And if we can get our 70 or 80% of the people vaccinated over the next 100 to 120 days, then even if the wave, if it comes, the effect of it will be so blunt that we will not feel the pain of it. It will not disrupt our day-to-day life. Now, currently, we have the pace at which we are vaccinating and the rate at which the COVID-appropriate behavior is going down in the people. I think we are not helping that 200-day cause. We are actually still wanting it to come at 100 days. So the third wave will come if the COVID-appropriate behavior goes down and the vaccination is not complete. When it will come, you can calculate around 100-day cycle and say it's going to be in September, October, November. I honestly don't know, and I think no doctor or epidemiologist in this world will be able to predict it. But what I'm saying is that as much as we can push it forward, it will be
Indeed.
beneficial for us.
Yeah, because that gives us that time. It actually, prolongs it.
Correct.
Like you absolutely said, it gives more people to get time to get vaccinated. And COVID appropriate behavior, वही, अपने mask पहनिए, हाथ धोइए, sanitize yourselves, don't go into crowded places. I think that's something we do not need to let go. So that's very, very important. एक सवाल आया डॉक्टर पंडित कि वैक्सीन एक क्योर नहीं है, बट कितना प्रोटेक्शन हमें मिलता है वैक्सीन से?
ये सवाल अंबिका जी सेम से वही सवाल है जो कि आपने मुझे पहले पूछा था कि वैक्सीन से क्योर नहीं। बिल्कुल सही कहा आपके जो दर्शक है हमारे, जो कह रहे हैं, और वैक्सीन से जो है हमको डेथ से प्रोटेक्शन मिलता है, हमको हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन से प्रोटेक्शन मिलता है, और इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है। मैं और एक स्टडी कोट करना चाहूंगा यहाँ पे, CMC वेल्लोर, जो कि एक बहुत ही प्रख्यात मेडिकल कॉलेज और इंस्टीट्यूट है साउथ ऑफ इंडिया में, वेल्लोर में। वहां के करीब 24,000 लोगों की एक स्टडी पब्लिश हुई थी, हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स जो कि डबली वैक्सीनेटेड है पूरे, और उनमें इन्होंने ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन देखा। तो बहुत छोटी संख्या में ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन हुए, और मैं इन लोगों की बात कर रहा हूँ जो रोज कोविड पेशेंट देख रहे हैं, ना कि आम जनता जो कि घर पे रह के शायद प्रोटेक्ट कर सकती है खुद को, या ऑफिस स्पेस में, कन्फाइंड स्पेस में काम कर सकती है। मेरा तो ऑफिस स्पेस ही कोविड ICU है, दैट इज माई ऑफिस स्पेस। तो अगर हमको हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स को इन्फेक्शन कम हो रहा है, तो इसका मतलब यह है कि हमारे वैक्सीन इफेक्टिव है। और जो इनपे इन्फेक्ट हुए हैं CMC वेलोर के स्टडी में, उसमें से बहुत कम लोगों को एडमिशन लगी है, और बहुत कम लोगों को ICU लगा है, और एक ही मोर्टेलिटी उन्होंने इस ग्रुप में बताई है। तो आई थिंक ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टडी आई है हमारे एक मेडिकल कॉलेज, जो कि बहुत बड़ा मेडिकल कॉलेज, और वो भी प्राइवेट नहीं है, ये पब्लिक प्राइवेट जैसा एक बीच में का चैरिटेबल मेडिकल हॉस्पिटल है, मेडिकल कॉलेज है ये। और इसमें जो है अपने को बहुत अच्छा एक आम जनता के बारे में हम सोच के बता सकते कि ये रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा हमारे आम जनता को करके। तो आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी गुड स्टडी।
जी, आपने जैसे ये बताया, इनफैक्ट इट्स रियली इंपॉर्टेंट, जैसे हमने वैक्सीनेशन के बारे में इतनी अवेयरनेस स्प्रेड की, बताया कि जरूरी है, जो उसके मिथ्स थे उनको कहीं ना कहीं तोड़ने की कोशिश की कि जैसे फर्टिलिटी में कोई असर नहीं पड़ेगा, ऐसे ही हमें कहीं ना कहीं आई थिंक वी नीड टू टॉक मोर अबाउट दैट यस, इवन इफ यू आर गेटिंग अफेक्टेड, द सिवियरिटी जो इन्फेक्शन की है वो कम होगी। तो कहीं ना कहीं आई थिंक वो गैप, क्योंकि बहुत हम देख रहे हैं कई सवाल वही पूछ रहे हैं कि क्यों लेना जरूरी है अगर हो ही रहा है, तो आई थिंक वो बहुत जरूरी है। एक अगला सवाल डॉक्टर पंडित ये है कि किसको बूस्टर डोज और वैक्सीन की जरूरत पड़ेगी?
बहुत अच्छा। अगेन हमको ये पता है कि जो 2 वैक्सीन ले रहे हैं उनकी इम्यूनिटी जो है, उनका जो इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स है जिसको हम एंटीबॉडीज बोलते हैं, उसकी मात्रा जो है वो करीब 6-8 महीने में कम होने वाली है, और कम होते हुए दिख रही है। इस वक्त जो है जो कैंसर के मरीज है जिनको की इम्यूनो सप्रेशन मेडिसिन चालू है, जिनमें कि ये शायद एंटीबॉडीज उतनी मात्रा में बनी ही नहीं है, उनको 3rd डोज या बूस्टर डोज देने की शायद जरूरत पड़ने वाली है। और जो फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर्स है, डॉक्टर्स, नर्सेस, पैरामेडिकल्स, एम्बुलेंस पीपल, पीपल हु आर लाइक पुलिसमैन, उनको शायद 3rd डोज देने की जरूरत पड़ेगी, क्योंकि वो जो है डायरेक्ट कांटेक्ट में आ रहे हैं पेशेंट्स के। तो इस वक्त ये दोनों पॉपुलेशन को करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी। पर मैं एक बात बताना चाहूंगा अंबिका जी, जब तक हमारी पूरी पॉपुलेशन को 1 डोज भी नहीं मिला है, तो 3rd डोज के बारे में निर्णय लेने के लिए एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को जो है थोड़ी सी मुश्किल होने वाली है, क्योंकि अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ वैक्सीन जब तक सरप्लस में नहीं आएगी, उस जिस दिन ये सरप्लस में आ जाएगी ये डिसीजन बहुत इजी हो जाएगा। तो जब तक सरप्लस में नहीं आएगी तब तक ये डिसीजन थोड़ा कठिन होगा, और इसको बैलेंस करना जो है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को करना पड़ेगा, अपने सरकार को करना पड़ेगा,
क्योंकि बहुत बहुत जरूरी है, जैसे आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि सबको कम से कम 1 डोज लगे, एटलीस्ट दैट लिटिल बिट प्रोटेक्शन एवरी इंडिविजुअल इन इंडिया नीड्स टू
शुरुआत तो हो
हैव।
जाए, उनकी वैक्सीनेशन प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत तो हो जाए।
जी, एक अगला सवाल आया है डॉक्टर पंडित, इट सेज दैट अ लेटेस्ट ICMR study in Chennai showed that the B1.617.2 has the potential to infect both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals, but vaccination can prevent the progression of the illness. What do you have to say about this? So we've spoken a lot on vaccination, but progression, this is an interesting question.
Yeah. So again, I think we need to understand that the newer strain, the Delta strain, the Delta plus variant, there is some amount of immune escape. What they are talking about is the immune escape. So we know that there is an immune escape. There is an immune escape to vaccines. There is an immune escape to the monoclonal antibodies as well, which are there, the monoclonal antibody cocktail. And we have to be cognizant of the fact that the 2nd generation vaccines which will come across will actually give us some protection from these kind of variants as well. So right now, the best protection is mask. That is why masking, sanitization, avoiding crowded places still remains the number one protection, followed by the vaccination. So vaccination is important, but until everybody gets vaccinated, these three virtues have to be kept on.
So this is a very, very critical point. What you're saying, vaccination is key, but we definitely need to keep these other. I mean, we need to continue our, the whole behavior, the COVID appropriate behavior. What we say, that is extremely, extremely critical. Another very interesting question, Dr. Pandit, I think, which we need to know, because recently there was this whole thing about, which is actually good news, is that children getting vaccinated. What are your thoughts on this? Are vaccines safe for children? The ones which have just been okay, the 12 plus ones.
Yes. So the new vaccine which has come out, which is the Zycovid vaccine, which is a three-stage vaccine. It actually studied within the 28,000 patients, 28,000 volunteers they actually studied. There was a population of 1,000 who were children between 12 and 18 years of age. And they found that it provided excellent protection after the 3 doses. And there was very, very good safety profile as well. So I think these vaccines are absolutely safe for the children. The Zycovid has got no doubt about that. There is Pfizer vaccine, which across the world we know has been now approved for people children between 12 and 18 years of age. And then there is, of course, the Covaxin, which is going to come in. And the data is slowly being built up for that. And it will be presented to the Vaccine Authorization Committee for an approval when the data gets completed and the trial gets over. And that vaccine will be a safe vaccine, I believe, because right now we know Covaxin is a safe vaccine. So the age group needs to be studied, which I think they are quite well and truly going through it.
So absolutely some good news, I think, relief for all of us as parents here.
Yes.
Dr. Pandit, can you tell us a little bit about the intranasal vaccines which are being developed?
Yeah, so there is a concept of superficial immune system as well as the concept of internal immune system. And there is this concept that if you give a nasal vaccine, it will actually provide a good immunity through the skin and the cells which are protecting that area, which help us to build up our immune system. And I think intranasal vaccine will be the game changer when they come in, because right now, one of the hindrances is that it's an injection that we are giving. So it requires a special care, it requires monitoring, it requires 30 minutes of observation after that. Whereas remember the pulse polio campaign, which we all did around 10 years ago at a very, very large scale across the country to eradicate polio. And one of the easiest thing was that they were drops. So if you just give drops and you just walk away, it's absolutely safe, and it's going to help us into creating a larger mass of people who are vaccinated completely.
Safe also and much quicker, like you said, it'll be much, So it's a double whammy. Okay, the other thing I want to ask you, Dr. Pandit, what are your thoughts on this? Is it more important that the second dose is given to more people, or the larger population, they get their first dose? What do you think on this?
Okay, so
if we need to prioritize.
Yeah, that's again a very good question. Very good question. What UK did in between was they actually increased the gap between the 2 doses. There is a lot of scientific evidence for that. But that was not the thought process. The thought process was that at least try and get everybody 1 dose. And then we try and give them the second dose. Okay. So there is some scientific basis behind that. But we all know that with 1 dose, you only get around 30 to 40% protection, not enough protection. Whereas with the second dose, you get more than 75% protection against the virus. So I believe that we should actually complete the vaccination course as quickly as possible. Try and keep the 2 doses gap scientifically based. So for right now, for AstraZeneca Covishield, we have a 84 days gap, and that's based on science. We'll have to continue with that. But Covaxin is only 28 days. Sputnik is 21 days. I think if we can do that, we will be able to quickly complete the vaccination program.
Okay. So, I mean, it's very, very important we keep that in mind. We'll just take a last question, Dr. Pandit. Is it true? What are your thoughts? Do you think patients with cancer and other immunosuppressive diseases should be given priority? Are they being given priorities? Is that true?
So if you remember that when the first vaccination program started, there was this rule of, giving a list of comorbidities for people. You have to tick those forms, and only then they would be given a vaccine. Yeah. The reason why these cancer and immunosuppressive therapies are being given a priority or should be given a priority is their immune system is so weak that they are at a very high risk of catching the infection. And if they catch an infection, many of these patients are also being cared for by their family member. And then they will realize that they are going to pass it on to the household people, and you will have a much quicker spread of it. And they are very difficult to clear the infection because their immune system is not very strong to fight it off as well. Yeah. So I think it's important that we actually prioritize these patients. And this is also the group who have probably have already been vaccinated, may be considered for a third dose or a booster dose as well. I think it's a very special population which we'll have to look at.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pandit, for answering all these questions so well, explaining it so well. I think there's so much of doubt in everybody's mind, like, how, why do we need to get vaccinated? And also people are getting disheartened that, if you're vaccinated, you're still getting the infection. But it's very important to understand that the effect of the virus is lower if you're vaccinated. It's important we all get vaccinated. The nation, each and every individual should be vaccinated. And most important is we continue following the COVID appropriate behavior, which is wear your masks properly, the right way, the correct mask, wash, sanitize your hands, and maintain social distancing. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandit, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.